The Eastern Cape is one of the hardly hit provinces by HIV and AIDS, and it is the vulnerable youth, especially young women, who are the easiest targets. But although the province battles to contain the spreading virus, it is not resting on its laurels, taking a multi-sectoral approach to fight the epidemic. The following is the testimony of how the Eastern Cape AIDS Council has stepped in to mitigating some of the cases. The Eastern Cape remains under immense attack as the rate of HIV infections is growing in the province. Rural villages seem to be the most fertile ground for the epidemic due to poverty, ignorance, as well as limited access to education and health resources.
We get new HIV infections of about 49,000 every year. As the province, we get about 3-5% of deaths. Our target is 3%, but we're still between 5 and 6% of deaths. We've got about 350 people on ARVs, 350,000 people on ARVs. So the problem is very huge. We've been able over years to contain it, but we've just stabilized. We've not hit under 5% mark.
It's not just statistics, scary as they are, but a devastating reality that Nolitemba Moni knows all too well. She came face to face with HIV and AIDS at 13 years of age after her mom passed away in the rural town of Qendane in the Transkei in 2007. She and her 3 siblings were left to the care of their father's sister.
Udadwabo wasweleka ngo-2010 wabe HIV positive. Cha ke wakafuna usixelele udadwabo sister yakhe i-HIV positive yabingebantu ayamxelela wabengafuna uyibona nto azoyichaza ngokusekudala sekunzima kuba ana sihambe ngehlobo nokwethu kuba silento sifundiswe isikolo sezizazi into ze-CD4 count manethetha sayi-catch up nohlobo wade wasweleka ngo-2010.
As if that was not enough, the HIV tragedy struck again at her home a year later.
Ibrother yam wayethandana nale ntombazana wava kwangabanye nje yaba zii-rumors uba ingathi le ntombazana HIV positive. Ngenxa yaloo nto leyo wazixhoma wabhubha.
She feels that her brother would not have died so unnecessarily if there was proper HIV awareness in the villages.
Lack of knowledge uba wayelento uba wayazi mo uba wayesazi uba wayezile uba even noba na ithi kanti yinyani ezi-rumors uye naye wapositive wasuleleka sesingazumlento sesingazumchithela ngaphandle sesizamthanda mhlawumbi wengasazade kwale nto aze azibulale.
But then again, she's not totally surprised because she says there's a cloud of darkness about HIV hanging over her village. Young people, especially young women there, are lost in a deep hole of ignorance without any assistance.
Isikakhulu kutsho umzam nakwi-family friends basacinga uba xa ulento xa u-HIV kuphelile uthi umntu ngcono atheste sekunzima yonke into.
It's a weakness that the Eastern Cape AIDS Council and provincial government easily concede.
The main thing is we have not been able to successfully convince each other as the province, but I think mainly as the country, on the things to focus on and on the things to intensify on. At least we now know that major drivers are social, behavioral, economic, structural, and biomedical. But the main investment has been on the biomedical, which has worked wonders because we know now that people are on treatment who are able to use treatment as prevention. We know that condom works, but we have not been able to sufficiently invest on behavioral change. We have not been able to deal with things like alcohol abuse, high levels of domestic and gender-based violence, particularly rape. We have not been able to deal with things like multiple and concurrent partnerships. But there is seemingly an agreement that now, since we're starting the new national strategic plan, the focus ought to be there.
We have identified young women as a key population that contributes new numbers of new infections. This is a problem that we need to address if we were to reach our target of reducing HIV incidence by 50%.
As one of those young women, Nolitemba's hopes for a bright future had all disappeared. With no job or money to go to school, all she could see was a life full of misery. This until the Eastern Cape AIDS Council stepped in. Relying on its multi-sectoral approach, it took her under its wing as part of the Impact Mitigation Targeted Program.
Impact mitigation seeks to look at how we can come up with programs and responses that makes sure that those who have been affected negatively by HIV and AIDS still can survive. It looks at how you can assist them to build their lives without feeling bad, at the same time to make sure that their rights, they understand their rights and no one violates their rights. It also looks at taking those people beyond the program, the biomedical intervention of giving them ARVs, to say they must live beyond that and be ready for the challenges of life just like any other person.
As a body responsible for coordination of all HIV and AIDS related response in the province, the AIDS Council has a pool of able partners. It approached FET colleges and asked them to assist with bursaries young people such as Nolitemba who are either affected or infected by HIV and AIDS to continue with their studies.
When HIV strikes at home, sometimes it leads to untold fears, sometimes it leads to poverty, sometimes it leads to people experiencing a never-ending kind of stress and feeling of selflessness. So what we did was to make sure that people that we are assisting are getting skills. To do that, we had to write to the institutions of higher learning. So to kick off the program, we started with the colleges of education, which are now called technical and vocational colleges of education, to say, in your programs, in your corporate social investment programs, can you adopt these youngsters who have been identified through their counselors to assist them to obtain a skill in terms of their experiences. We needed people who had passed standard 10 but were not in a position to proceed because there's no money at home, or perhaps the breadwinner is sick, or whatever circumstances that may have caused the family not to be able to assist them. Fortunately, a number of institutions of higher learning agreed.
Office of the Premier assisted us with some of those people in universities, and 2 or 3 private individuals assisted us with things like transport and so on. So it's been a very, very good success and a very good project.
Now at 22 years of age, Nolitemba is one of the 15 young people benefiting from the program. Not only has Nolitemba been helped to go back to school, but she is also doing internship at the local Buffalo City municipality. Now, after all the traumatic experiences she endured, she looks at life differently.
Indincedile kakhulu. Iyanceda and inikeze notata wami ithemba lobe nyani uba omnye ngoba ngoqala uba mandilento mandifunde mandide ndipase grade 12 ndide ndiphume ndiye lento e-tertiary ngoku ndenza i-internship. Inikeza ithemba nakumnikeza ithemba mandiqhubekeke, and in future ke ndifuna ulento ngokwelento ngeenjongo zam ndiyabawela nam ndiyilento ndibe yiphathi yale program isikakhulu sifocuse kule nto kubantwana basezilalini ngoba baya-affecteka kakhulu.
Those people who have been impacted need to be pulled up, to be assisted, so that at the end of the day we are in a position to say, whilst HIV and AIDS exist, but it does not stop life from going on to individuals, to families, to organizations, and to whatever groups. Let us all be involved. In the spirit of remembering Tata Nelson Mandela, let us all be involved. Let us all be prepared to touch a life where we can.
The establishment of the Eastern Cape AIDS Council in the year 2000 has helped to solidify the provincial response to HIV, TB and STIs in the past few years and aligned it with the national agenda.
The main task of the council is to make sure that we collectively raise the HIV and AIDS agenda, that of an AIDS-free generation by 2030. This is the agenda the country and indeed our province has committed itself to. It must permeate and pervade all corners of our province. The council, as constituted by the different constituencies, different sectors of society, must ensure that this message becomes foremost in the minds, in the plans of actions of their different constituencies. I remember when we started this battle as the province, our motto was, and I quote, "Make HIV everybody's business," close quote. I believe that the AIDS-free agenda that was firmly entrenched in this message, so we should continue to make sure we reinvigorate as we continue our long but surely victorious journey ahead of us.
But there are still many more rivers to cross before it can claim that it is winning the battle against HIV and AIDS.
Confidently, we are turning the tide, but perhaps winning is a bit strong. We've got good programs in place and a good focus. You know, I always say we, at least now, are not shooting in the dark. We know where new infections are in terms of regions, in terms we can even go down to wards. We know where are the hotspots and we know what are the drivers. It has taken us more than 10 years to just understand the epidemic because it is complex. But we are now turning the tide. As I said, we have reduced new infections by 15%. We now know that we need to focus more on young women and young men between the ages of 28 and 32, young women between the ages of 16 to 24. If we can give that focus, I think we're going to make it.